welcome everyone. This is Chris, and thanks for coming by. We're going to create a beautiful painting today. We're going to paint flowers. We're doing magnolias. We're going to cover all the steps, all the methods, the techniques of how to create this beautiful grouping of flowers. You can work from this. This is actually the finished painting, so if that's something you want to do, you can always pause on the video and actually be able to work right from this. We also draw this very carefully, so further on in the video, over the next 10 or 15, 20 minutes, if you keep going forward in the video, you'll notice that we draw this twice. We do a preliminary sketch first, which is a very light sketch to lay out everything. And then once we have that done, then we go over again on top of the very, very light sketch with a contour drawing, which is a very free-flowing drawing over the top of our preliminary sketch, where we get everything in nice and solid with our pencil lines. And once we're completed with that, then we show all the steps and techniques and all the methods to mixing colors and getting these flowers looking beautiful with the leaf forms and the stems, all the wonderful colors in this. This is just a great fun painting to do. You can do this in a small format or a large format. It's the same. If you maybe create this in a small format first, like this, which is maybe a 6 by 10, then you can maybe take a larger scale paper, 12 by 16, and just create the same idea. Just use the same techniques, the same methods. Just enlarge it a little bit, and then you can have a beautiful painting you can create, put it in a frame, put a mat around it, put it in a nice frame, and you have a beautiful painting. So let's get started, and we'll get into all the details of painting these magnolias. All right, so we're getting back started again here. We just saw the finished painting, and we can work from that. So if you feel comfortable and you want to work from a finished watercolor painting, I like to do that myself. I do a lot of work from just looking at other watercolor paintings and painting from those, drawing and painting from those. Or you can start from scratch and work from the drawing here, the photograph actually. We have these are magnolias, and I found this online. So I just printed out the picture. I thought what would be helpful too is sometimes drawing stems and things like that. It's a little bit challenging. I've done this before, and I just went into the backyard here, and I have a branch that I found. So I have a branch here, and it's similar to the one we have here in this picture. So there's a branch, it branches out into a Y shape. So I found a branch that's similar. And the only thing is some crumbs. You have to have a little, I have a brush nearby. So once we're done, I'll use the brush and I'll sweep off the crumbs off our watercolor paper in our workstation here. I'm trying to make sure not to get any in the paints, some of the bark and things like that. But we could start off by getting our drawing in and using this branch just to get a really good start with our shape of the branch here for our magnolias. And I think I'm going to do this. And I'll get my pencil here. So I'll just do a light sketch around this here. Like so. Just a very light sketch. I'm going to run my pencil along the branch here I have. And then over here, another bit of branch over here. And that's all. Just a little bit of that light pencil sketch to get a shape going for our stems. And I'm going to find a brush here. There we go. And we can start drawing in our leaves and flowers next. And I think we'll try the same approach. This is just a light sketch, a preliminary sketch, getting things sort of in the right place we want them to before we fully go in and do our drawing, our contour drawing. So now what I'll do is I'll maybe try to just lightly sketch in these shapes here. There's another. You can let things, you can draw things right out of the frame of your painting. So I'm drawing right out onto the tape. So we have a smaller leaf form here, a larger leaf form over here. You can exaggerate too. It tends to look good if we can make things non-symmetrical. So we'd want to try to avoid drawing the same size leaves. Even if they're the same size that you're looking at in a photograph or even in nature, if you can try to get a little bit more variation, that would be good. And then we have this one here, and then we come down, and then we have our magnolia flower here. And again, just very light sketching. As you can see, I'm going very light. I might go a little darker now just so that you can see. I draw out of the picture frame. And I'm sort of contour drawing now. I'm just tracing over the light sketching portion here. This might be a little larger like that. Like that. Okay, that's the magnolia flower in the center. There's the center of the flower there. And we're going to do these loosely, not too. And we're going to try to get that leaf there. And then there's another leaf here, like so. And then over here, we can adjust things a little bit. I'll take my kneaded eraser and just erase this line here a little bit over here. We don't have to always stick exactly with the game plan, so you're going to see I lifted up this pencil line here, just with the kneaded eraser. I lifted up that because I want to stick pretty close to what the drawing is, so that it comes over here more, the stem, like that. And then we have the and there's another couple. So, again, I'm doing a light sketch. There's another leaf form under there, and then another one here. Goes underneath like that. We have this. Now we're going to come over here and we'll do another. That's our preliminary sketch. I think I might stick with this and not really go in and do, well, I'll do the contour drawing. Hey, we're back. We're going to get started on our contour drawing. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, now, again, just to refresh quick, we did our preliminary sketch first, super light, just to get everything in its proper place so we're happy with it. You can always erase a little bit with your needed eraser as you're going to, get some better lines down that you think look more accurate to your picture. Or if you want to enhance it a little bit, you can do that too by erasing a little bit. But the thing is to try to, the least amount of erasing is really preferred. Nothing's going to be perfect with this, especially with plants and flowers and things like that. They're very loose, and the feel of them, you can rearrange things a little bit here and there, and it's not going to matter much. But you do want to stick to this picture as close as you can. And we did use, again, just to refresh, to get our first lines of the stems in this, which are in a Y shape. I went outside in the backyard. I got a twig from the branches, the evergreen bushes at the house here. And we just used that. I laid it down onto the paper and then traced the branch so that I got that real organic looking sketch of the branches here. So that really helps a lot too. I mean, I wouldn't use a ruler for this to get a straight line, obviously. Sometimes it's hard to get something accurate, like long lines are difficult sometimes. So there's also, silk flowers. Sometimes I've used silk flowers to draw from. I could have used one of those. I didn't have any handy of those, but those work too. A silk flower with the stems. You can use a really large sheet of paper and use silk flowers and drop them onto the paper and trace around them too if you want. That's some fun stuff to do. I hope you'll continue to paint and draw and have a good time with your artwork. So sometimes if you do a little offbeat type of technique or method, sometimes it rejuvenates your excitement about doing some watercolors and painting and drawing and things like that. So I don't really worry about that too much. So again, So I'll start down here. I'll start in the middle. And this is the flower. And I'm just basically tracing, but I'm also looking back at the photograph too. Sometimes I can get a little more accurate lines when I look back at the picture while I'm doing this. And then this is fine there. And you never forget you're going to paint over this too, so you'll be able to adjust too when you're painting. And that looks pretty good. And so again, we did some more, and I'll just do a little bit of touching up there. And I see I went over a line here. I wanted to keep that line there. That's a petal of the magnolia underneath this main flower section here, and then this is like so. And that's fine. So we have our, and then I might just take a couple, once in a while, just I erase a couple spots just to, all right, we're going to get started with painting now. I would say here, let's use a large brush for this painting. I'm going to look around here, maybe a 12. I'm going to try a 12, size 12 brush. Da Vinci Maestro watercolor brush, round brush. So you can kind of see this brush fits pretty good with the size of the petals. And what happens is this is probably a little bit of a larger brush for most. I know watercolor artists tend to use smaller brushes, but I think try to always upsize your brush once in a while and see how it performs for you. And I think it'll work well in this painting. So if you can match up, some of you will draw this smaller than I'm drawing this here. Some of you might draw it larger. So what I would say is try to match up the brush hairs to the size of the petals. So if they're about the size of the petals, that looks good of this drawing. So most of these are right, perfect size. And if we use this, we'll tend to do less, a lot of strokes and a lot of painting moves. If we use a larger brush, we're going to cover more ground quickly. And I'll explain how this works. Like as far as using a larger brush, you can really enhance the look of your watercolor painting. You can also maybe more easily add more variations in color as well, because you can load up your brush with different colors and then just place it down onto the paper and then maneuver it from there and you know, smooth out that wash. So we'll do that, and I'll explain how we do that in just a second. But again, if your brush can match the size of the petals, then that's a good size. If it's a little smaller, a little larger, I guess that would be okay. So what we'll do is we'll start with the darks, and I'll go with ultramarine, a little burnt umber, sap green, lots of sap green, a little bit of burnt sienna. A little bit of burnt sienna in there. Maybe some olive green too. And these leaves have a kind of a bluish look. So now we take our brush, we load it up with all those colors we just put out onto the palette, and we'll start, let's start here. And then we can set our brush down like that. And again, we pick up more of that color and we'll go over here. We always want to try to avoid leaning into that paint. So as we put that paint down, we want to keep our hand away from that area so we don't lean back into that. And then we just do another shape over here. And there we have it. And now we're just going to do that negative shape painting where we paint around that white flower and the petal appears. And we'll do one more. Let's do burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue, sap green, a little bit of olive green, maybe a little bit of viridian green too. And then I'm careful not to lean into my paint. I'm always going to take a quick look when I'm ready to make some brush strokes onto my flowers here. I'm going to look and make sure I don't lean in to the painting and to the fresh paint. Once it's dry, then it's okay. You can rest your hand on dry paint. And let's go with a little more of a change right here. We'll add a little bit of cadmium yellow lemon, just to add a little lighter. Maybe there's a little bit of a lighter feel over here. And then again, the same colors: burnt sienna, sap green, olive green, French ultramarine blue. Then we can spin our brush around the other way. Use the point of our brush to get that point of the leaf form. Then we can, a little more burnt sienna. Maybe we add in a little bit of raw umber now. Raw umber to that mix, burnt sienna. And we'll do some stems here. We'll do this stem. And the stem is just slowly upward. I will get a little more water here. We'll make it a little lighter here and there so we don't keep that. We want to maybe keep it from looking the same tonal value the whole way. You can also, as you're working, you can dab a little bit of paint off. That works too. That's pretty good. That kind of gives a feel of like some light on the stem. And there's a couple. And you can do the same thing. You can use a little bit of a tissue, and maybe here and there you just blot up a few little spots. And you just remember to keep folding your tissue around so that you're not going to re-blot onto the paper with the wet paint. You just blot it up over here, then you change your tissue around, and we maybe go over here like that. Look at that. Now we got all this variation happening. Again, I'll take my tissue, roll it up into a different spot so there's no paint on there. And like that. There we go. So now we've added lots of variation. We put some really beautiful paint on here. Straight paint out of the tube. I didn't use hardly any water. Just a damp brush here, really. Then we can take a little bit of cerulean blue and just infuse a couple areas with some wash into there. Cerulean blue. And I'm going to use that cerulean blue also to just make a couple splashes just to make things a little exciting here. There we go. Okay, let's take a break. We'll let this dry because now we're going to have that issue where we might start leaning into our paint. So that's a great reason why we kind of take breaks. So let's take a break, let this dry, these lower petals here and this stem, let that dry 100%. And then we can go back in and we'll start working up here in the top portions of this this scene here. Okay, all right, we'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to continue on our magnolia flowers. I'm going to go with a little bit of a smaller brush now, number 8. Same thing, a Da Vinci round brush, watercolor brush. And this number 8 is going to just help me to put in some shadowing here in the flowers. And we're going to go with the mixture of cerulean blue, ultramarine violet, cerulean blue, for our shadowing in the flowers. Also some cad yellow lemon. And then for the center, we'll use some raw umber for the center of the flower. So that'll be our color mixes. Then we'll go in here. And I'm just going to carefully look at the picture. I might pick up a little bit of mixture there, just a little bit to mellow that out a touch. But well, I'm actually going to go in and carefully look at my There's a little bit of the lemon color there. There's a little bit of that cadmium lemon yellow. In the center of the flower, I'm going to go up here. Then there's a darker shadow, so I'll make this a little bit darker. A little bit of that mix in there. I'm just adding a little bit of the mix that we were using for the petals. For the leaf forms. I just mixed that in with the cerulean blue and purple just to like kind of mellow the color out a little bit too much. Sometimes there's just too much intense color. So sometimes if we just make it a little bit, gray it down just a little bit, it tends to look a little better. It will dry lighter. Oh, we always say that in watercolor. Your watercolor, when you put your paint onto the paper, it normally it'll dry about half as light as when you're putting it onto the paper, except when you're putting straight paint down onto the paper. That tends to stay pretty close to. But if you're adding quite a bit of water to your paints, then it's going to dry lighter. That's for sure. So we'll continue to more shadowing there. I would definitely leave white paper. I think that's pretty good. And I just dabbed in a little bit of the raw umber in the center. And over here, there's some shadowing on this bud over here. Magnolia bud is over here. And I'll work over here a little bit. There's some shadow there. I see. And what I'll try to do is follow the shadow I'm seeing in the photograph. Shadowing along there. There's a little bit of the lemon color. And some lemon there, cadmium yellow lemon. That's the brand name, or the name of the paint. Now, cerulean blue, I'm going to try to paint around the top of this flower. And I just make some wash along the top here. I'm going to change out my water here. I think it's important when you start to do your lighter washes, like toward the finish of the painting, it's always good to have fresh, clean water. So you can work in some of these light washes, and there's not a problem with. We can keep it looking really light and fresh looking. And I'm just trying to highlight some of the leaf, the petals of the flower with some paint, cerulean blue. I can blot up too. And no big deal if you go over a line or something of a flower, you can just if the blue is too We could add a little bit of raw umber to some orange maybe. And now I'm just adding a very, very little touch of color to the paper. Very, very tiny amount of cadmium orange, just to give it that warmth. No particular way to put it on, just have fun. I'm thinking of the radiating forms of the leaves like this, so I just move some paint around. There's some purple and blue again. We're going to repeat those same colors throughout. So I'm just going to kind of do that. Maybe a couple small brush strokes up this way here, just to kind of repeat the same pattern of the And once it dries, it'll be much more subtle. The light washes, those are going to dry a lot lighter. So right now you might be thinking it's a little bit too much washes on the paper, but I think it'll dry and look lighter and just be a subtle amount of color just to All right, I thank everyone for watching. We'll probably try this again in the next maybe the next month, let's say. We'll probably come back, revisit doing some more paintings like this, flower paintings, doing the technique of just alla prima, going in, drawing first, and then putting down our paints, the darks first, and then our lights last, and then we put in our very delicate washes at the end. These are white flowers, so they tend to, we have to work a little more with very light washes, which is fun. That's a good thing to practice, light washes, to get in some subtle shading. And then sometimes we'll be doing more vibrant, exciting colors of flowers, maybe oranges, reds, purples. So we don't always paint white flowers, but white flowers are fun. They give us some challenges of trying to do some shadowing and get everything looking good. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.